What's up, guys? Henry Gracie, Hito and Gracie here at the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy. We need to have a very serious talk today.
The most real talk that we've ever had with you.
Yeah, and the Jiu-Jitsu community is kind of reaching all-time low as of very recently. For those who don't know, there was an incident on the East Coast, New Year's Eve, where two men raped a woman. And
They weren't just any men. Both the men trained Jiu-Jitsu at a school in the East Coast, and the woman trained Jiu-Jitsu.
All three of them were Jiu-Jitsu students at the same school. Now, to be clear, we have absolutely no affiliation with this school. But even though we feel a certain sense of connection.
Of course.
Even though we've never met the assailants, we've never met the victim, we've never met the school owner, we don't have any affiliation, we still feel two obligations. Number one is that we practice the same art, and our family is to some degree responsible for bringing this art to America. And number two is, as two people who take great pride in perpetuating the Jiu-Jitsu that our grandfather created and our family has brought to America, we feel great responsibility in doing everything that we can to make sure that this never happens again. And the fact that this talk should have come sooner, maybe we're a little at fault for not having the talk sooner.
Correct.
But sometimes you need to be broken down to be built up.
Sometimes you need a nightmare to wake up.
Yeah, so this is the nightmare for sure. And we have to address it, we have to talk about it, and there's just so much to take away from this. Most importantly, I think, is the incredibly profound responsibility that we as martial arts, and more specifically Jiu-Jitsu instructors, carry in terms of making sure that things like this don't happen. Because for better or worse, we're teaching Jiu-Jitsu. We're teaching tools of self-defense that are incredibly effective and can save lives, but we're also teaching very dangerous weapons of self-defense that can be used for the wrong reason. So it's like any weapon, it can be used to protect or to kill.
Since the beginning of us learning, our grandfather and our father, everybody, our uncles who taught us, made it very clear that we know that when we teach people Jiu-Jitsu, it could fall into the wrong hands.
Yes.
We're very aware of that. But we also know that if we don't teach it out of fear of it falling in the wrong hands, then that means that people who can use it and benefit from it might not get it.
The 99.9% of people who need it for self-defense and for confidence and for the right reasons, not for murder, not for rape or any other things, the good people of society will be limited and robbed of the chance to learn and benefit from this art that has changed so many lives, millions for the better.
And there have been incidences, for sure, like 2 years ago, a month ago, throughout, on a regular basis, I have no doubt that there are young kids out there abusing their power.
Right.
19 years old, getting their blue belts, and they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna, or someone might insult that kid with the smallest insult, and the kid goes and beats him up, chokes him out. Way overkill.
And this is with any martial art. There's no doubt that in general, people use and abuse their power,
now,
as we call it.
And these kids doing this, like two kids, is one thing. It's completely wrong. I've never beat up any kid in my life, or anybody, I've never been in a fight for any reason, because I know I'm gonna win. So some kids out there who are abusing their power, watch out and wake up. But now it's a woman.
Yeah, no, it's a woman.
Two men attacking a woman.
Yeah, and it's again, it's an all-time low for us. And the question, the number one obligation we feel right now is that this can never happen again. Everything must be done to prevent this from happening again. And we, of course, talked and thought a lot about, how could this even happen? And the people who did this are very accomplished. One is a world champion, BJJ, like very accomplished martial artists. And the question becomes, how is that type of person created? You know what I'm saying? And this is not, it's possible that this happens again in another form, maybe not in a rape, but in another violent crime of some sort. And so what we need to discuss here is what has to be done to prevent these types of people from being made into these violent criminals. Now, is it possible that someone has these violent tendencies to begin with, and they just get the techniques and they get the knowledge and the power, and they go and they abuse it further. Of course, that's just their core nature, and that's unchangeable. But we're strong believers that everyone kind of comes into the academy who they are, and the experience at the academy can unquestionably change that person. And either you're going to make it's possible, amongst other changes, right? You can make them more violent, aggressive tendencies, or less aggressive and violent as a person. And you know what, the example that comes to mind, as cheesy as it is the Karate Kid, the Cobra Kai Academy, in the Karate Kid movies. Like this is not a new thing in martial arts, this thought that it could land in the wrong hands. It's been around forever.
Correct. In general, in martial arts, I do believe that the person becomes more mellow and more confident, right? And
around us, I don't know if that's so commonplace everywhere.
Yeah, I just feel like the martial arts, it stabilizes the person. It brings a certain peace to them.
Yeah, that's the other side of the Karate Kid movie, that it makes, you know.
And I think that's the more powerful side.
Right.
Because I believe in the people out there, they want to be good and they want to help each other. But we, of course, know they can go both ways. And I feel like today, this day and age, a lot of times we see, whether it be movies or professional fighters, a lot of like, yeah, I'm gonna beat you up,
right.
I'm gonna F you up. It's very like people just beating the life out of each other, whether it's entertainment, whether it's real, whether it's fake, whether it's a movie, whether it's a professional event. And I feel like that brings a certain like rough and, you know, kill or be killed attitude into some buildings.
Oh, no question about it. So, and again, that would be a situation where the aggressive tendencies are being amplified by the environment that they're in. And, you know, imagine having a school where, I'm just creating an example now, a random example of an MMA school, where every time you go to the school, it's kill or be killed, straight up. It's survival of the fittest. It's beat up anyone who's smaller than you, and someone who's bigger, survive and wait till you're bigger or better so you can beat up on more small people. And it's everyone using everyone as a stepping stool just to get where they want to get for their own personal ambitions. And I know that there are schools being run like this, and you can't deny that a school that is run like that, it can foster the aggression, aggressive behavior.
I've heard and seen instructors almost reprimand and have a problem with a student who loses,
right?
Who's defeated. It's like, why'd you lose? What's wrong with you? You dropped the ball. And that kind of pressure from the instructor, who knows what that might create, a little switch in that student's head to now go forward with so much more aggression, or maybe pick partners that are not as good so they can beat that partner, and then therefore, you know, maybe show this instructor how good they're doing and impress the instructor. Who knows? There are countless ways it can go down.
Right.
But the whole point is that if losing is a horrible thing,
and defeating someone is the best thing,
yes,
that's what it boils down.
It's tricky.
If ultimately dominating and defeating someone is the best thing, and where you get the most praise, guess what? That's what's going to become your tendency, is to look around and see who can I technically victimize on the mat to help get my praise and reach my goals and ultimately accomplish my objectives in the realm of this martial art, jiu-jitsu or otherwise. But if that, you can see how that type of environment on the mat can certainly create a more aggressive person in general. And then the question becomes, what do we do within our power to prevent this from being the case? And what can you guys do, those out there who are in a position to teach and to influence others, to minimize that? Well, at the Gracie Academy,
naturally, if you know what could foster, you know, someone who's very aggressive, you do the opposite. And we still want to encourage our students to defeat each other.
Yeah.
And go forward and go for the kill and win.
When Hino and I train with each other, there's no doubt that we're going to submit each other within the realm of what we're trying to accomplish.
Now, the more advanced student, there's a level of kill and attack and submit and tap. But there's also a finesse and a control, and there's not this intent to possibly hurt the arm a little bit or squeeze the neck too hard. It's done with care, you know, and that's the number one thing, is that you care for each other. And then after the care, you want to help. There's a desire to almost educate. Hey, I tapped you like this.
Well, here's the,
and show how they beat them, and then maybe even allow you to now become offensive against me a little bit and just give. And just
that's it right there. The give and the care for the less powerful. It's so major, this idea. In the Gracie Academy, the most prevalent theme regarding interaction between two students. The number one is there's someone who has more knowledge, more technique, more strength, more power, whatever, or a combination of that. That person has an obligation to the student that they're training with and to the school as a whole to do everything they can to build this person up, to serve this person, to help this person who is less knowledgeable, less technical, less powerful. And this is from the very beginning.
Listen, and everybody has been this person.
Everyone, including this person.
So everyone needs this. It's a huge machine. It's nature.
And it's made very clear in the beginning that this person, the recipient of service from a more powerful or more technical or more advanced student, the recipient knows very clearly that as soon as they begin to climb the ladder, their obligation, it's not a choice, by the way. We'll talk about those who made the choice and who made it incorrectly and what happened to them.
Yes.
It's not a choice. It's an obligation to pay it forward to someone else and to be their servant and to help. And for us, the implications of this type of training environment and cooperation between the students are huge. Like, just to be clear, when we have a class, the Gracie Academy and all of its certified training centers around the world, just so you know, people out there who don't know, we show a technique and then we ask all 40 students against the wall. We say, okay, for those people today who've done lesson number 3, who've completed lesson number 3, step off the wall if you've done this lesson. Positional control from the mount and body fold takedown. Step off the wall. Now turn around and find a partner who doesn't know the technique and serve them and help them and guide them and teach them. Look at what kind of vibe you're creating.
This is showing the oneness.
Yes.
It's showing how we're all on the same team.
Yeah, it's showing that we're practicing together for an enemy or a threat on the outside.
Yes.
We're not using each other or abusing each other to meet our own objectives and aspirations and forgetting about our partners. And if they're less effective than us, guess what? They pay for it. They're our practice dummy. And if they're more effective, then we suffer. This is not the environment that fosters servants, a servitude. So for us, this is from the very beginning. Gracie Combatives, beginner class 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't know. Students at the Gracie Academy don't know life without service to one another.
Correct. And when they walk in the building, we do this. It starts at the top.
We do it to them.
The instructor, we're the instructor who we could, of course, when somebody comes in, tap them out 45 times.
Which happens a lot of places.
Correct, we could. But
choke you out until you see if you survive for 30 minutes.
Believe it or not, whether they're a student who knows nothing or someone who's already a purple belt or a black belt, we'll roll with them and we'll tap them and then we'll let them tap us.
Even though they probably
and there's a flow. And there's just this back and forth give, whether if it's a stranger, someone from a whole different school we don't even know, we have nothing to prove.
Right.
If they came here to learn and came here to, train with us, we want to teach them and help them learn and make sure that their training was a good experience.
And if they can help us, we want to learn as well.
Yes.
It's an idea of mutual service to one another and assistance and cooperation that is so important, and it must be preserved. Like in the beginner classes, we display this with cooperation during the learning of simple techniques. Eventually, once they start sparring, beginners don't spar for the first several months of the Gracie Academy, but once they start sparring deeper down the path towards mastery, then we make it very clear that as you spar, whoever the more knowledgeable and technical and more advanced student is, their job is to make sure the other person, it's not a matter of tapping or getting tapped. That's like a kind of a symptom of this product and this idea. But the reality is, the bottom line is, you better make it productive for both of you. Is the obligation for the main person.
What's the value? What's the value in someone more advanced just dominating and destroying for 5 minutes? There's no value in that.
Right.
Once you know you can beat somebody and you're for sure superior, you're better off helping them. So back to the whole point is that people have to help people.
People have to help people. We want to know that when our students leave the academy, after every training session, they're more likely to step in and to save someone who is being victimized or being abused or being, raped or attacked or anything. We want to know that the people that we're teaching are likely to intervene and assist. And all of our efforts in the academy are to create that person.
And that's to assist in anything.
Yes.
It's a flat tire.
Yes.
The confidence from Jiu-Jitsu, it almost gives you even more confidence to help someone say, hey, do you need help with your tire?
Yes.
Because for all you know, you might not want to approach a stranger who has a flat tire. But when you do Jiu-Jitsu, it's like, hey, what's up?
Yes.
There's almost like, because
we want you to become more helpful.
In Jiu-Jitsu, you become so close to a stranger so fast that you almost look at everybody as potential friend and equal.
Potential partners and people you can serve and help and give to.
This is so important, and this is so passed on that we actually have a script in our kids' classes, our bully-proof classes, where we talk to kids about how to basically intervene and help a kid that's getting bullied. So 7-year-olds
are learning service.
Are helping, hey, get out of the way, don't bug him. And that is like unheard of for a kid to stand up, because that kid now might get beat up in their mind, they might think.
So the truth is, the people who come to an academy, you don't know who they are. We don't do criminal background checks on every student who shows up at the Gracie Academy, even though people think you should, and I can see why they would think that, especially in the wake of an event like this. But the point is, here's our philosophy. If someone comes into the Gracie Academy who has a criminal background history, which I know there have, because there's been a few who confessed this to us. If someone comes in with a criminal background history, it's our belief that the Gracie Academy learning experience is going to bring them down. It's going to make them more helpful, more compassionate, more respectful, more likely to serve and to assist other people in need than where they were when they came to us. That's what we're aiming for. Now, is it possible that even though we're aiming for that every time someone walks in, to foster that environment of service and assistance and compassion, that someone in that environment goes out and commits a violent crime like what we heard about on the East Coast? Of course it's possible, which is why we should make it very clear that the instructors, the owners of the school at which this took place, or at which these students trained who perpetrated this crime, we don't place any specific blame on them. And we're not doing this video to make specific blame for any one person or school. This is just, that was, like Hidon said, that was the nightmare that woke us up. That is now forcing us to talk about this issue, or giving us a chance to talk about an issue that is long overdue. And we think by us addressing this can possibly help other school owners and other martial artists out there realize the degree of power that they have and what an important role they play in making sure that it's managed properly.
The power that Jiu-Jitsu has is also because you can get someone who you can tell is clearly a little bit on the aggressive side, might have been in some fights and had some crimes in their past that they committed, and all of a sudden they get Jiu-Jitsu and it becomes their new, it becomes what they're about.
Their new significance.
It's their new significance, it's their new story. Because their story before might have been that they, steal cars.
Yes, and they felt proud of that.
Correct. And now all of a sudden their story is helping people, sharing knowledge, and basically, who knows, maybe spreading the martial arts principles and philosophies to all their friends.
It brings them down, and then it changes their life, and it becomes their new significance is to help and to serve rather than to rob and assault or do whatever violent.
And it's a very powerful significance, especially when we are constantly thanking them and encouraging it. Because when your instructor basically comes and thank you so much for helping the student today and for how cooperative you were.
Huge deal.
Having you in the building increases the value of our building. When you hear that, what are you going to do?
More of it.
You're going to do more of it. Instead of, hey, you didn't go hard enough.
Why didn't you tap that person out fast enough?
He shouldn't have escaped. You should have ripped the arm harder.
What's wrong with you? You're trying to get your next belt, but you didn't even beat that person. Go beat them.
For all we know, now in his mind, he walks away thinking, you know what? I need to be more aggressive. I need to make more aggressive moves. And who knows, that might be on the mat or off the mat.
The role that the head instructor, the owners, the senior students play in creating and preserving this environment cannot be overstated. It's the most important thing.
It's the same as a parent with a 1-year-old child. How important is a child and parent relationship?
It's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything.
So when you're 18 or when they're an adult or even a child, but when you move into a martial arts school, you are the parent. You instructors are the parent, we're the parent, and all the students out there, our responsibility.
Major. We've had students, and this is very important. As much care and love and trying to pass down what our father and our grandfather taught us, and infuse that in the Gracie Academy learning experience and environment that we are now responsible for. There have been incidences where people have come in with very aggressive tendencies and they did not subside. They remained aggressive, even though everything around them was to calm the nature of that individual. You guys, the green mats are no accident. The Gracie Academy green mats are a peaceful, we're not really.
They could be red.
It could
with flames.
It could be more of an aggressive tone, but not that a red school, red mats can't be a peaceful school.
Of course.
We're just saying that the Grandmasters Carlos and Edu Gracie had a plan for us. They said when people come to the academy, it should bring them down from their aggressive state if they live in one, or it should over time make them more passionate, compassionate, respectful, patient, loving, giving human being. That's the objective. There have been people who've come to us, and after several months of us trying to instill our values and this servitude mindset, they still did not absorb. It simply didn't work. So guess what? As the instructors at that, now just to be clear, the one that I'm thinking of, the most recent one, who you know I'm talking about, was a very good competitor. Very good.
They usually are. Because if they're able to be aggressive and hyperextend arm locks and be choking people out, that's because they're good.
Right, so he was a very good competitor, a very accomplished grappler, very technical, like even a good training partner for us, how good he was.
Yes.
But guess what? He did not fit the mold of service, help, assist those who don't know. And as a result, after several warnings, we had to pull him aside, and we had to ask him to leave. Because he was literally infecting the environment with this aggression and negativity.
He's affecting the water, infecting the water.
Hedon is leaning towards a perfect analogy that we think for this situation. The academy is a bowl. The students are fishes. And the water is the vibe, is the environment. And the truth is, the fish are the fish, and you can't really control the fish, who they are and their individual brains and what they do and where they go and how they spend their time. But when in this bowl, we can control the water. And if you keep the water clean, and if you feed them and treat them properly, that will affect them in some very real ways. Even if they get moved to a different bowl later, this impact was had. But if you neglect the water and you don't emphasize this constant preservation, it's a lot of work.
This happened to me, and a fish gets infected. A fish can get infected, and then that bacteria and that fungus on the fish can pass to the other fish. You have to remove it. This happened in one of my actual fish tanks.
You have to remove it. And he's not talking about the actual academy, he's talking about the fish tank.
That really happened, but it's same in the academy.
Same
it's not
recently happened for us in the academy. You have to remove it. You could otherwise it creates that.
It's better to lose one student than that one student affects 10, 12 other ones, and now you have 10, 12 injured, or who knows, miserable, having a miserable experience whenever they walk in the academy.
The point is, even we are not exempt from having students who we do all we can to preserve this positive, helpful, cooperative, service-based environment. Even we are not exempt from one of our great students from going out, having a crash, and then mental crash, and doing something violently aggressive or crazy and unpredictably violent. We aren't. And can it happen one day? Of course. But are there things that can be done to reduce the likelihood or frequency of violent behaviors from the students over which you are managing and seeing?
Yes, and that's a constant pursuit of ours.
Yes.
To find anything new, anything that we hear that will help the environment of our building, we're going to do it on the spot.
Yes. And to be clear, to add on to that, it's not like you can just leave it alone. In other words, you can't just leave it by itself and expect this environment to create itself. Why not? Because the nature of martial arts in general is that of combat, is that of aggression, is that of overcoming adversity and fighting someone. And if left alone, it'll morph into this very violent environment, this very violent dragon, so to speak, of aggression. And before we reached the level that we have in maturity in running the school, it had slipped a little bit. There have been times in the history of the academy where we didn't know things we know now, and then it slipped. And we had seen dips of aggressive moments in the history of the Gracie Academy, and we're very fortunate and proud to say that we've now overcome, and we're now seeing more clearly than ever what we can do to preserve. But to get back to that, if left alone, it will not clean it. The fishbowl, if you don't change the water, filter it and scrub the inside of the tank, the water will get old and it will mess up and it will kill the fish.
And when it comes to the academy, we do so much to keep the keep the water clean and keep it positive, that with time, our message is passed down to students, And now we have students that somewhat are like almost ambassadors.
Enforcers
and they
of the positivity.
They help us continue this positive learning experience and environment. And now that allows us to step away, and we know that it's under control because everybody hears it so much, and it becomes the way that we are.
Right, so now suddenly when an infected fish or someone comes in who doesn't have this way, it's an immediate, there it is. Now for those out there who don't have this type of environment already in place at your school, it's going to take some work to create towards that. And it's going to take preservation, it's going to take change, internal structural change of the academy, the way things work, but it's going to be worth it. And once you get it, like Hidon said, and it's almost like runs itself, because everyone has accepted that that's the way it has to be.
Yes.
The responsibility that school owners and instructors have cannot be overstated. Yes. With great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man's grandpa.
Students of Jiu-Jitsu are recipients of great power. You're learning something that is very serious. So that student has untold responsibility to make sure that that power is not abused. We understand that. The only person who has greater responsibility than that student is the teacher who is disseminating the power to all of those students. If that teacher does not also spread the ideas of service, assistance, help, compassion, and you know, wanting to help people who are in need.
Now there's a situation.
Then you have a disaster. Oh, it's very bad.
Now,
you have a disaster
now the truth is sometimes the teacher does not even have it within themselves to pass that, because they were not brought up in an environment that was helpful and cooperative and positive. So they don't even know anything other than what they're doing, which is possibly creating an environment that is not the most, you know, like we say, helpful. So there's not too much we can do.
Yeah.
But for sure, instructors out there can step back, look at their situation, and think, you know what, can I create an environment that's more playful?
Right,
Can
more
we do that?
cooperative, more helping each other.
The students, believe it or not, when you create it, they might seem like they all are enjoying this whole, like, you know, warrior type building. But the truth is, when you create this whole keep it playful, help each other vibe, they will actually jump on that. And they appreciate it, because once they figure out that we are okay with it, they're going to see the extreme value in this environment, and then they're going to go with it forever.
Yeah, it's very simple. Either students in an academy see the other people as stepping stools or grappling dummies for their own perfection, or they see them as partners in a journey towards Jiu-Jitsu mastery where we serve each other equally. Even if I'm more advanced, I serve him, and by letting me learn and practice with him, he's serving me as well. It's a mutual thing. It's one or the other. Either they're using each other or they're serving each other in the academy.
And that goes the student with all students.
Yes.
There is no separation, like, yeah, those guys over there. Sometimes within schools, it becomes a little bit of like, those 10 guys don't like those 4. Everybody, I don't care who it is, for a student to say, you know what, yeah, I don't like training with those 2 over there. This can't be happening.
Right.
You have to protect that. Shouldn't be happening either.
Major.
Good.
So there you have it, my friends. Our hearts go out to the victim and of course the family of the victim of this horrific crime. And we have to use this. This has to be a wake-up call for the entire martial arts community, not just Jiu-Jitsu. But we can speak on behalf of the Jiu-Jitsu community because it's something that we were born to be part of and are incredibly passionate about and are continuously sharing with the world. So students out there who are learning these techniques, ask yourself, are you learning to use them for the right reasons? Number 1. And number 2, instructors out there who are teaching these techniques, are you teaching them in a way that will guarantee to the greatest degree possible that the power you're giving will not be abused. The power you're giving will be used for the right reasons.
Every time you give a technique, give a little mindset, give a little principle. Don't just show a move and walk away. There's more to the art than the actual physical technique.
Yeah, it's major, my friends. It's we hope this video helped, and just talking about it and communicating it internally has helped reinforce our conviction in what we're doing is right, and we can even take it to the next step and keep pushing the cooperation and the vibe within the academy. And to be clear, this doesn't mean that me and Hidon or our students don't train hard and don't get better and we aren't after it when we're sparring. There should not be a confusion here.
No.
It just means that while we're like two grizzly bears trying to kill each other on the mat doing jiu-jitsu, 100% looks like the wild animals attack video when we're rolling with each other. Still, it's being guided by nothing but love and service and safety and respect for one another. So, and that's been a result of our upbringing from, of course, our father and our grandfather, for whom we are, you know, so proud and privileged to have learned from, because they taught this. We didn't make anything up that we're telling you right now. We're just trying to make it known to more people, because it's like the techniques have spread rapidly. Jiu-Jitsu is the fastest growing martial art in the world. But the cooperative, keep it playful, helpful, service-oriented training mindset is not spreading as quickly. And we do ask your assistance, and whatever you take from this video, share with your colleagues, share with your friends, forward this video, repost it wherever you can, and let's see if we can't make a little difference in a major movement. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you on the mat.